Up next, we have housing and development.
Housing is a huge issue, and I'm not entirely sure we captured it all. Just very quickly, I only have 3 minutes. We had a very heavily weighted group of city staff that was in the housing group. So very heavily weighted, although we did have the complimentary resident advisory person from the Oakland Housing Authority Resident Advisory Board. So we did have some resident voices, but just to be clear, it was pretty. We looked at the District 5 in terms of those areas that are eligible for redevelopment dollars, those areas that are not. We looked at the number of Section 8 in a given area. And then we came up with these issues. These may or may not be the definitive issues of housing in the world, but this is what we came up with. And they grouped in about 4 areas. One, basically the whole idea of saving our housing stock. The fact that we have housing stock that's in poor condition for a variety of reasons, including just age and deterioration, blight, but also foreclosure, which has created vacancies and other issues. So saving the housing stock by all means necessary. Second, redevelopment agency funding. I mean, redevelopment has done so much for Oakland. Jerry Brown knows that, and we need those dollars. So that's a huge issue for us. And third, categorically, we're getting to sort of the more philosophical stuff around how do you create high-density housing, which we need along transit corridors, and also balance traffic and parking concerns. It's just a difficult and challenging situation that we have to face. And then finally, balancing affordable housing with market rate housing. We need both affordable housing, and we also need market rate housing. So balancing market rate and affordable housing was the 4th issue. So on the matter of solutions, the first issue, saving the housing stock. We need ideas, we need education on rehab, we need examples, we need an updated resources. We all may be familiar with Rehab Right that came out some many years ago, but we need an updated version, and maybe other ways to get information out around rehab standards and ideas. Not so much requirements, but ideas on what you can do. In terms of high density housing, improve transportation options and green considerations. I think a lot of time when people think about high density housing, they forget the fact that it really complements a green agenda. So that's a new educational piece. And then finally, we sort of had these sort of scattered areas, solution issues were traffic calming consequences, the matter of scarce resources, NIMBY, and the need for ongoing education.
Up next, we have infrastructure.
Hi, so in infrastructure, our 3 priorities were potholes, okay? Illegal dumping and litter, which seems to be prevalent throughout the city, and park maintenance within this community. Some of the things that we talked about as solutions are maintenance on streets with heavy truck traffic, especially the big trucks. East Bay Mud taking responsibility for resurfacing when they do cuts in the road. Neighborhood watch groups and block captains call in all illegal dumping, that they take walks once in a while through their neighborhood at least once a month and report these problems that they see in their neighborhood. Allow homeowners to repair potholes, especially if they're in front of their homes. Neighborhood watch groups. Oh, and one of the other things we talked about was trying to find some way to coordinate with the city and the volunteer groups so that we don't have 2 different forces working at once, so we have one force working with the help of the city. And that's it.
Up next, we have LGBT empowerment.
First, I want to say that not many people know this, but Oakland has one of the largest populations of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, queer, questioning, and intersex populations in the country. It has the largest lesbian population in the country. But yet, not many people know about that. So our main issue was raising our identity and increasing our awareness that there are this many LGBT people here in Oakland. And so really that is about raising our visibility and awareness. We also talked about the need for reducing LGBT senior isolation. Our LGBT seniors did not come of age at a time when it was quite acceptable to be out. They came of age at a time when they were persecuted. They were arrested, beaten, put into mental institutions, and often given outrageous therapies to try to heal them, supposedly, from being gay. And not many people know this, but we have an extremely large population of LGBT elders there, elders in our community. So that's another issue. And then one mainstream issue our group identified was just an overall image improvement campaign for Oakland, because we all decided in our group that Oakland was better than Brooklyn. Because in the LGBT community in New York, in Christopher Street, many of them have moved to Brooklyn. And the same thing has happened here over decades in San Francisco, where many of the LGBT community has moved here. So how are we going to do this, increase our awareness, is to mobilize the vast numbers of LGBT people here in Oakland to be better volunteers, to do more community outreach, to educate the mainstream community, to work with all of the health and human service providers that are here, and most importantly, to work with senior centers to make sure that our senior centers don't close, because the North Oakland Senior Center is a model of success for LGBT senior programming here in Oakland. It's one of the only senior centers in the country that has a safe, visible, celebrated, and ongoing LGBT senior programming. So that is an issue we want to work on. Thank you.
Next, we have public safety, and this is going to be 2 report outs, one from the Spanish group, which was upstairs, and then the second one from the larger group, which was downstairs in the auditorium.
Good afternoon. My name's Arturo, and this is Ana, and Claudia helped us with our group as well. For the Spanish-speaking group, their top 3 priorities were violence, drugs, and gangs. And their particular focus in all 3 of these was that it was about the community and about family and about the need for both the community and family to actively work on preventing these things, not just relying on government. So it was an interesting and unique spin on violence and violence prevention. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Reagan Harmon. I facilitate the public safety group. I am being joined by Officer Festag, who's actually going to share a few words, and Officer Pareda, if you could come up front as well. So our top priorities from the group was that there was a strong support for gang injunctions. There was also strong support against gang injunctions, which tells us that gangs, that gang prevention is a major issue for this area. And then the last one was personal safety. I do want to let Officer Festag, who worked in this area for a long time, talk about some of the things that can help reduce crime in the area. I also want to encourage people to go to the back table there for the Neighborhood Services Division, where you can find out where your NCPC meets, what time, as well as who your problem-solving officer is.
Thanks. We have a program, it's called Hands Off. And this program is set up to send a very strong message, first of all, to any of those individuals. A little closer? All right. It's like American Idol. We have a program, it's called Hands Off. It's set up to send a strong message to any of those individuals that want to commit crime against any of us, that we are, as a community, as a police department, working together. There's many different assets to that and how we project that. But one of the biggest things that we do is we have these great meetings that our NSCs put together, the great training. We meet with merchant groups, we meet with senior citizens, day laborers, and we specifically teach them how not to be a victim, how to be aware of their circumstances. We teach them how the 911 system works. We teach them how to actually be a great witness when a crime does happen, so that they can give us information, work together so that we can follow up on these leads, okay? A couple years ago with De La Fuente's help, we were able to purchase thousands of these personal alarms, and we were able to pass them out to the senior citizens and to the day laborers and to the community members, and it was a great thing. We're going to try to get some more funding, Mayor, and all right. But the biggest part here is that we can only do so much unless you have to come to these meetings, you have to come to this training, we will teach you, we will work with you, and that way we can stop a lot of this crime. When we did this in De La Fuente's area, when we tested this all out, our crime went down 33%. So we know that we can have that same success, but now with the community membership that we have here, we're going to work together a lot stronger.
And also, can I have Anna Martinez, if you could raise your hand. She is the Neighborhood Services Coordinator for a majority of this area, and Officer Pareda, who is one of the problem-solving officers. So before you leave, get to know them and find out when your NCPC meets.
Next up, we have social justice.
We wanted to recognize that social justice is a very broad heading, but this is what we came up with as our top 3 priorities. More avenues for community involvement for immigrants, documented immigrants, undocumented immigrants, and second language speakers, or English as a second language. And fostering cultural and language sensitivity for city workers, and making more available where city staff has training materials and where we offer more interpretation services. And I just want to also thank Camille because she served as an interpreter in our group. The second priority was really seeing more city opposition to targeting of undocumented immigrants, specifically to oppose Secure Communities Act, and also to oppose the disproportionate DUI checkpoints in the Fruitvale. And one idea that was given, that I just want to say for priority 1, that was given at the end of our meeting was asking city staff to identify themselves as bilingual, so like on ID tags. And then the third priority was the city offering driver's license or personal ID similar to in San Francisco for undocumented immigrants and for citizens, which we have this summer in municipal IDs. So thank you.